Yo, what's up, team? Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to a little agency therapy. I hope you guys are having a great start to the week. Man, I've got some great stuff for you guys today. Some mental models that we're going to be moving through. And I'm just really stoked. I'm really stoked to talk about this today because this is some lessons that I've learned in building now two seven-figure businesses. And yeah, I'm just excited to share some of this goodness with you. But if you guys are here in the chat, let me know that you're here. What's up, Corey? Who else is here? We got Nicholas Reed in the building. Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the love. As we're going through this stuff today, guys, don't forget to drop some questions in the chat as we're going along. And if you guys have questions, obviously we'll answer them towards the end. But we'll jump straight into it today. We'll jump into the little share screen, and you guys, if you don't have access to the Miro board, what are you doing? You guys should have access to this. It's free, and it's going to have pretty much everything that you need inside of here as far as building an agency. And I just dropped the link in the chat for you guys. That way, if you guys do need access to it, you can grab access. Awesome. Let me do a little share screen here, get us set up, and we'll jump into it. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. Looks good on my screen, so hopefully you guys can see it. All right, let's zoom in a little bit. So, guys, I want to cover the top 7 mistakes I made growing 2 businesses to 7 figures with some mental models. Okay. Some of these mental models I've shared with you guys before in the past. Some of them are going to be new mental models. Some of them are going to be very much like, well, duh. That makes a ton of sense. But these are the things that I wish I would have known very early on in my agency days. And then even kind of like in the intermediate agency days as well. Like, when I was at 500K, hey, like these are the things that I learned to get me past that home because we were there for quite a bit between that, like 40, 50K per month mark. Like that was a very hard barrier for us to pass. And it felt like months. It was a couple months that we were there for, but like when you're kind of like in that revenue range, like you're trying to do anything that you possibly can to get to that $1 million run rate. And so if you can get past, in my opinion, people say like the first $10,000 is like the hardest. I think the first $10,000 for me was actually really easy. I think the hardest part of building an agency or now a consulting firm has been that 50K barrier. Like getting past that 50K and getting to that 100K was definitely the hardest part for me. Okay, and so I want to take you guys through some of these mental models. And once again, I've talked about some of these before. What's up, Brian Cleary in the building? Let's go. Love to see it. And some of these mental models, you guys, I've talked about before, and we've covered them in the past, but some new visuals to potentially go along with them, right? So let's go ahead and hop in. We got 7 to cover today. It'll take us a little bit of time to go through all of these. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat as we go along here. But this one I've shared quite a few times with quite a few of my clients, quite a few of you guys as well. We've covered it in another agency therapy before, but I think this is one of the most pivotal moments that I've ever had in my entrepreneurial career. Is when I read this in a book called Essentialism, and I just recreated the diagram here. It looks a lot better in the book than it does here. But lack of a clear niche or specialization in what you do, and this is one of those things that has stuck very clearly with me. And one of my mentors used to tell me this all the time. Is like, hey, you got to be great at one thing or a specific few things and be very niche and very deep on your level of knowledge in one specific area, right? And this diagram has always stuck out to me of like, hey, when you're niche and when you're focused and when there's one priority that you're building, whether that's one business, whether that is one specific niche that you guys are drilling down into, you're going to get a lot further with that one specific niche than you will say, you're running an agency and there's a lot of different services, there's a lot of different niches that you serve, and we're going a short distance in a bunch of different directions, right? And this is often what we see with a lot of entrepreneurs when they first get started is like there's no focus, there's no direction. And not saying like here's the thing is like you're going to get a ton of opportunities when it comes to building business, when it comes to partnerships and serving different types of clients. People are going to come knocking at your door, but not every opportunity is a good opportunity to take. So be willing to pass on things, be willing to say no to a lot of the different niches or a lot of the different things that are going to pull your focus away from the main thing, the main objective, the main mission. because you're going to thank yourself later on when you did focus on this one thing and you do get a long distance with it. Been building the same business for the last 3 years now. Haven't changed niches at all. Have adjusted our offering slightly. Have made it a lot better. And this will go into another mental model here in a minute. But the big thing is just staying focused. One clear thing, one clear path. Okay. Uh, and just making it better, right? Better, better, better every single time. So first mental model, okay, pick that niche, okay, go a mile deep on it, be the best at it. If you could be the best at it, you'll go a lot further. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be stuck there forever and that you can't do any other businesses, but hey, this is where we're going to start. Okay. And especially if you're not past the 40K, 50K per month mark, there's no point in doing really anything else until you get past that point. Right. And now that we're, our consultancy, it's past 100K per month now. It's like now we're starting to explore some other options. And I can't share what those options are quite yet, but you'll be hearing more about them. Okay. So lack of clear niche or specialization. Make sure you guys specialize. Okay. When you first get started, if you're having second guesses, just stay where you're at. Give it a couple of years. You'll be fine. Okay. All right. Second thing, avoiding difficult conversations. What's up, Felix? Hope you're doing well, man. Like to see you here nice and early, not catching up on the episode. Love to see it. Avoiding difficult conversations. This is a mental model that I just kind of came up with, is that a lot of young leaders tend to brush problems under the rug. Okay. And the idea behind this mental model here is that a lot of times the problems that we have, or the problems that we're having with teammates, the problems that we're having within our business, other co-founders, right, is that the problem tends to start off very small. Okay. Problem tends to start off very small, and then we get a second problem. But what happens is that that second problem accumulates with the first problem, and so it becomes a little bit larger, and the annoyance becomes a little bit bigger. And then eventually, there's a third one, and then a fourth one, and we're never addressing the things that actually need to be addressed along the way. And so eventually, it becomes a very massive problem, and there's a boiling point or a tipping point, and all because we avoid difficult conversations in our business. And here's the thing, is like when a teammate gets onboarded into our consultancy or within our agency, it's like these are conversations that we're going to have. And the expectation is set very clearly from the beginning of like, we don't avoid difficult conversations here. We're going to address things. And of course, like we'll be cordial and make sure that we're not doing things in a manner that's going to piss anyone off. But we're going to address the problem head on. If there's a problem, we're going to address it head on. We're going to make sure it doesn't get swept under the rug, because we can't have problems stack like this and grow and fester within the organization. Like you talk about one of the biggest killers of culture, it's sweeping problems under the rug. And I've been a part of organizations that did this and swept problems under the rug, and all they did was fester, right? And continue to grow. So if you're having problems within your organization, if you are having difficult conversations that you need to have within your organization, then have them. Do not wait to have them, because chances are that problem only becomes more intense as time progresses. Felix, what did you say, buddy? Said we grow proportionally with the amount of difficult conversations we're willing to have. True, true. So have those difficult conversations, guys. I know it's uncomfortable. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like we should address the difficult conversation, but hit it head on. I promise it will be worth it. Okay. All right. Let's I want to save these two over here for last because I like those ones a lot. All right, let's talk about lead generation. Nicholas Reed, been there, done that, not fun. Agreed, it's not fun. So just address it, get it out of the way. Always talk about like ripping the band-aid off. Just rip the band-aid off, right? Like don't peel it off and like slowly do it. Rip it off. Get it completely off. Okay. All right. Let's talk about some mental models around inconsistent lead generation. Okay. Now, I talk about lead generation a decent amount on this channel, but I think this mental model has really helped me fix my thoughts on lead generation and really expand into other opportunities around lead generation, which is the ebbs and flows. Okay. Most agencies rely mostly on referrals. Okay. And with the referrals, don't be wrong, you can grow a good size agency with referrals. So I'm not saying this is impossible, but what I am saying is that, hey, we can't rely on just referrals, just like a investment portfolio. We need to be able to diversify where our leads are coming from, just like you wouldn't put all of your stock in in FTX, right? You're gonna probably diversify across things that aren't going under, right? So with that being said, you have to be able to diversify some of this lead generation. And these are some of the ebbs and flows that we often see with just referral only type agencies. It's like, hey, we start to see this little growth, we get to 30K per month, but then inevitably, because here's the thing, guys, is churn is inevitable in all of our businesses. If you have a service-based business, you will experience churn. Not everyone is going to last. It is a law of physics that entropy is a very real thing, and you will lose clients eventually. Literally impossible not to lose clients. Okay. So one, be comfortable in knowing that literally it's a law of physics that you lose clients eventually, right? Not saying that it should be a goal to lose clients, but we will see these dips in revenue, right? And we will lose clients. And so this is what happens when we just rely on referrals, is that we see a lot of ebbs and flows because we don't have a lot of lead gen coming in, and referrals are, as a lot of you know, hit or miss, right? There's no consistency necessarily to it. It is, hey, we're doing a good job for clients, and it's like, hey, like we know someone that needs this same service, so we're going to introduce them to you. So there's no consistency that comes with it. It's not very reliable, and it's not predictable at all. And so a lot of times we'll see these ebbs and flows with agencies that are referral only. And then we'll have agencies that install a new lead gen source into their business, and we'll see growth, right? But what you'll notice is that these dips become a little bit more shallow, right? Because we have one referrals coming in, but maybe we have another lead gen source coming in from paid ads or outbound or organic content, right? And so it kind of levels the playing field. And the more lead gen sources that we install, the less of the ebbs and flows that we're going to see. Now, churn still happens, right? Once again, inevitable. Can't escape entropy. But we start to level off with the more lead gen sources that we have. Now, I'm not saying go and install 4 lead gen sources immediately and ramp them all up. All I'm saying is that if you're just reliant on referrals, you're going to play this ebbs and flows games until you get to a point of your service is so good that it can't be ignored, right? So if you absolutely dominate for your clients, and like here's the thing, is like you have to be the best, right? If you're not the best, then referrals don't work. Okay. And if you're still growing as a business, which I think we all are as far as our skill set goes, then you can't just rely on referrals. Okay. Now there is a tipping point with that where we can see growth, right? Especially if you're doing a good job, and we can't have a growing business with referrals only. But I would rather hedge my bets that, hey, I'm going to have leads coming in from 1, 2, 3, 4 different sources, so I don't see the ebbs and flows or the dips as intensely, and we see more consistent growth. And ever since we've kind of cracked multiple lead gen systems, we've seen consistent growth like that. Even though we've still experienced churn, we still have clients that fall off. It just seems that the more that we install new lead gen sources, the more consistent our revenue growth then becomes, because we're not suffering from the dips of the churn, because our churn stays roughly the same, but we don't suffer from the dips of the churn. Does that make sense? Like Street said, been there, done that, not fun. I mean, sometimes part of growing a business, you know? Let me know if that makes sense, guys. All right, so inconsistent lead generation. This is just a mental model of like, hey, what happens when we install another lead gen model? Now, of course, the recommendation is always get one working. Okay, so chances are referrals work for you guys, right? So get a second lead gen source working. So cold outbound, paid ad, doesn't matter what it is, they all work, right? Because you see people do them all the time. Okay. Uh, Install a new one, make it work. Okay. Don't move to another lead gen source until you make it work. So if you're sitting on cold outbound and you're like, cold outbound's not working for me. Well, it's working for other people. If it's working for other people, it can work for you as well. So you just have to be a marketer, right? I think everyone in this room is a marketer at the end of the day. You have to be able to actually test and iterate and not just move on to the next thing, the new shiny object, right? Comes back to this, right? It's like sometimes these can all be connected. Okay. Is we have to go back to the focus and actually make the edits, because we know it's working for someone else and we can make it work for ourselves. Yeah. There's no magic sauce. Okay. It's just testing, iterating, and being able to make your pivots and make something work. Okay. Bang your head against the keyboard until you figure it out. All right. So that's a little mental model around lead generation. Okay. And one of the things that I notice is like, hey, like we're too reliant on referrals. Let's install a new lead gen system. Okay. It's something that I wish I would have figured out a little bit earlier. And it's like these are very duh things, but when you're in the mix and you're in the day to day, sometimes it's tough to figure out, right? All right, let's talk about systemization. Okay, we talk about systemization a decent amount, but I want to put a mental model around it for you guys so I can be able to show you the importance of actually systemizing your business and putting processes in place. And the first one here is like, hey, no employees, and we have a founder and we have a responsibility, right? Which is to our clients. And as a founder or as a solo founder, chances are you don't have a ton of responsibility outside of fulfilling for your clients and making sure that they're happy, right? So when you're smaller, one person shop, this is what it looks like. Okay. Relatively simple. Okay. But we bring on that first employee, right? And our responsibility increases. Okay. So you'll notice that this circle is a little bit bigger and that without systems, okay, the employee is going to be very reliant on you and you're still going to be responsible for the entire business. Okay. So employee relying on you, still have actually have more responsibility now that you have an employee that isn't self-led. Okay. And this tends to spiral out of control. And at a certain point, this is where people get very stuck, is that they bring on a second or third employee. And all of a sudden, the responsibilities spiral out of control. And we have all of this responsibility and all of these employees, and I should say employee three right here, but we're still responsible for the outcomes. And this is where systemization comes in and putting systems in place and having trainings for your team and them actually following a process that you put in place for them is because it's going to help you guys mitigate the responsibility that you have to your clients as a business as a whole. And this is what we want is that the team actually contributes to the responsibility of the business. So everyone contributes to the responsibility. It is not reliant just on you to be able to balance your employees out or balance your team out and actually uphold the responsibility of the whole business. Okay. We want our team to have some of that responsibility. Now, at the end of the day, you're 100% responsible for your business. You're the founder, you're the owner, right? You have the equity stake. But we could train our team to actually take on the responsibility by systemizing a lot of what we do, systemizing our fulfillment processes, it actually being able to get them bought into the culture, bought into what we do, and share the load of responsibility with our team. And this is how I've built our consultancy. Our team is very uh, self-efficient, I would say. Why? Because we have the right systems in place to allow them to be self-efficient. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Of course, it's not perfect. It's not. It's never going to be perfect, and we're always going to be systemizing things. But we get the right trainings. We let people be self-efficient within their roles. And so we share the load of responsibility of the business together, right? So, quick mental model to think of here, okay? If you feel like you're responsible for majority of what happens in the business, well, we need to be able to share that load with the rest of the team so it doesn't feel as overwhelming because I can tell you that a large amount of responsibility to one person is extremely overwhelming and will shut you down and you'll be very stuck with where you're at. So you have to be able to relinquish a lot of these responsibilities. And we do that through systemization, right? And building processes for our team because we want them to follow it in the same light that we would do it, right? So whether that's fulfillment, whether that is really any lane of your agency, internal or client facing, we need to be able to mitigate our responsibility to the team, not just say like, hey, check in with me when this is done, right? And that's the point of having systems is that there doesn't have to be check-ins. They're self-efficient. Those departments run without you. Okay. You guys with that? Drop me a little two in chat if you're with that so far. Okay. So a little mental model around responsibility and actually one delegating. So I guess like twofold delegating, but also like how do we delegate appropriately? Well, we do it through systemization, right? And you guys, there's a whole lesson specifically on systemization, process-based mapping last week. So go check that out if you haven't yet. All right, let's talk about underpricing services. Okay, I just posted a little a screenshot on Instagram a couple minutes ago actually of some of my clients. Nicholas Reed, one of my first retainer clients. I think Nicholas uh $500 a month was the first retainer that we worked with together. Um, but underpricing services, right? So here's how it's kind of laid out, or this is how I visually think of underpricing our services and why we need to increase price points. Okay. So we have retainers, of course. So then we have profit coming into the business. Okay. So you as the founder, okay, it's just you in the business. You charge $1,000 per month. We have a fulfillment is relatively low because we only have one client, right? We have about $1,000 per month in profit. Now, not all of that is profit. Okay. Not all of that is profit. You got probably some software costs. You got but chances are you're taking a majority of that $1,000 and utilizing it to live off of, or maybe just stacking it in the bank. Okay. But as we continue to grow as a business, right, we have multiple clients that now come in and our fulfillment capacity raises and it goes a little bit higher. Okay. So we have less capacity for fulfillment, but we still have a little bit of capacity left, right? And bringing in about $3,000 per month. And it continues to grow, right? So now we have 5 clients and we have very little fulfillment capacity left. And all of a sudden we start thinking, well, we have to start bringing on a team or we have to hire someone to help earn some of this fulfillment capacity back. Well, if our prices never change around this, okay, well, we start to lose some of that profit, right? Because here's the thing is employee number one is going to cost money, and say this specific employee costs $3,000 per month, which is a pretty reasonable, ask for an employee of like making $3,000 a month. I don't think that's overly ambitious by any means. But you now have 2 people in the organization. You've lowered your fulfillment capacity, which is the goal is like, hey, like hopefully we can bring on more, but there's less profit, right? Because you're paying from those 5 clients, 3,000 of it to your employee. And then as the founder, you're only left with 2,000, right? Which, well, we could have just came back to 3 clients and you could be making $3,000 a month, right? So essentially this model doesn't scale out. Okay. And there's a lot more that goes into it, right? With other operating expenses. But this is why we have to raise our price points, is because fulfillment capacity will eventually either cap out, okay, because we run out of time and energy, or bringing on an employee and other operating expense costs, okay, aren't going to allow us to continue to scale in this capacity. Now, there's a deeper exercise here that we can, of course, utilize to understand, like, hey, like, what's our utilization rates for all of this? How do we make sure that we're bringing in enough profit month over month? What are our operating expenses, right? There's a deeper exercise to be done here, but the mental model around this is that, hey, if we don't raise our retainers at some point in time, if we don't uh, uh, actually charge what the service is worth, then it's just not going to be scalable, right? So remember, as you guys are continuing to fill your capacity, the price points do need to move north, because you're not just paying for yourself anymore, you're also paying for teammates. Okay. And so, I mean, in a service-based business, of course, our number one cost to run it is going to be people, right? Like it's a service. Okay. So people are going to be our number one expense. And so for us to be able to do this and actually have margin left over at the end of the day, and here's the thing is like, this technically still works, right? But how long does it actually work? It's not a scalable model. It's not going to scale forever, because your operating expenses are going to continue to move north, which means that your price points have to move north as well. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Stop underpricing your services. All right. Last 2 here, last 2 little mental models. Okay. Not investing in professional development. Okay. This is one of my favorite ones here. Actually, just started with a new, I guess, like coach, you would say. We just invested in this. My partner and I did. Mr. Cody Jefferson. If you guys don't know Cody, freaking awesome dude. Go follow him on Instagram. He posts a ton. But we were looking for some executive coaching, and we went and found it. Because why? Because our knowledge that we have to get to the next point that we're looking for. So say we're at 30K per month and we're trying to get to 50K per month. Well, the reason that we haven't gotten from 30 to 50K per month is chances are that our knowledge is not at the point where we understand how to make 50K per month. Right. And here's the thing, guys, is like you guys can invest time and energy into things like agency therapy and learn about how to run an agency in an effective way. which is totally fine, right? But at the end of the day, agency therapy is just like random topics at random times that aren't necessarily organized, which I guess I could probably do a better job of organizing them for you. But in order to kind of get to the next level or be able to work, closer with people, you need to be able to advance that knowledge before you actually advance the revenue. So what in order to get to 30K, right, isn't going to be the same thing that you need to know to get to 70K, 100K, 100K. So your knowledge barrier or your knowledge base needs to always be higher than how much revenue that you're actually generating, right? Now, at the end of the day, I'm sure people could poke holes in this and say, well, hey, you just, yeah, like the answer isn't always work harder. Like some people are just like going to say, hey, yeah, I've just worked hard. Well, chances are they just crack the code, right? They advance their knowledge base through just work harder, right? Which could work, and you could get that advance in knowledge simply by working harder and putting the time, energy, and effort and grit into it and doing it yourself. But chances are you're going to invest in things like books. You're going to invest into courses, masterminds, right? To help advance that knowledge a little bit faster, right? And the only way that we could possibly do that is to either pay in order to do it or find something like agency therapy or Corey Jackson's Monday, Wednesday, Friday sales initiative that he puts on every single week, right? And it's like you find these free resources to advance your knowledge. But here's the thing is there's still a trade-off, right? We're still trading time and energy in order to get the advancement in knowledge, as Ty Lopez would say, knowledge. So here's the thing is that if our knowledge is only a 50K knowledge, it means that we're not going to get to 100K. So we have to continue to push the knowledge forward in order to get to 100K. So hopefully that makes sense. Really long-winded. I don't know why it took me so long to explain that. Okay. And then the last one here. You guys like my drawing? I made this just for you guys. I spend the most time on this one, believe it or not. Okay. Uh, this is the donut analogy. If you guys haven't read the book, crap, Corey, what's the name of the book that we pulled this from? The mental models or whatever. Uh, drop it in the chat. Said these look like Pokemon badges. They're donuts, Felix. Come on, get with the program. Okay. Um, and this mental model is more of talking on just getting started. Okay. You got to start with an offer and you have to get your MVP out there. And this is the thing that we see with a lot of agencies is like, ooh, shiny object. I'm going to create an offer. Super thinking. Thank you. Big book of mental models. I've been going deep on this book. Corey told me to read this one, so I've been doing some reading on this one. But specifically, what this mental model talks about is that when you have an offer that you're wanting to launch or there is an idea that you have, it doesn't even have to be an offer. It can just be a simple like business idea, right? And we're going to have a ton of different ideas, and these are all of our different types of donuts that we have here. I think this one looks like the berry pop tart. But we have all of these different flavors of donuts that we want, but we don't necessarily get started on one, right? And we have all these different ideas that we have, and we don't get started on one. Well, at the end of the day, guys, we have to pick one and we have to move it forward, right? We call this our MVP or minimum viable product, right? So it might be this donut here, right? And it might not be the finished product, but we need to get it at least launched and get it started so we can start making some traction. So if we always are just sitting on our hands, we're never going to make any progress. Okay. So get a minimum viable product rolled out. Okay. Don't sit and stagnate and sit in the idea phase forever. Okay. Take action on something. Okay. So pick one, try it out. If it doesn't work, then trade it out for something different. Okay. But what you might find is the MVP works pretty well, but not the best. And that's where you launch a 2.0. Okay. And this is the donut that hits hard, right? This is the $1 million donut right here. Okay. And a lot of times it comes from the MVP, but the MVP never happens if you don't pick your freaking donut first. Okay. So pick your donut, get it launched, and then iterate and make it better. Okay. And this is the best donut that you'll ever have right here. I'm telling you. Okay. So little mental model on just simply getting started. Okay. Don't sit and ideate forever. Get something out there. Okay. Take action on it. Those are my little mental models for today. Wow, it took me 30 minutes to go through all those. That's crazy. All right. Any questions on that? I know it's not like super tactical. I want to do something a little bit more high level. The icing on that one is 10 out of 10. Okay. So a little donut analogy in there for you guys. But you guys have questions on anything? Oh shit, there's 8 people in here. Love to see that. Love to see that. I just want to share some of my favorite mental models or like how I specifically think on growing and building businesses. I thought this was kind of fun to put together. I was, reading the mental models book that Corey suggested, Super Thinking, and this one here is from Super Thinking, but like some of these other ones, I was like, how can I put some of my methodology or the way I think specifically on situations into more of like a visual model, right? Ideas of practicing the implementation of moving forward on an idea. Ideas of practicing the implementation of moving forward on an idea. Yeah, I don't know. Choose where you're going to dinner for once. What do you mean, Corey? Ideas of practicing the implementation of moving forward on an idea. I think it depends on the stage of the idea, Corey, and what the idea is. Like, if you're launching like a brand new business and a brand new offer, like for the first time, it's all gonna be shit. Like, it's all bad. Like when I first launched, 3-to-1 Pocket Ops, which is now Hydra. Um, I mean, dude, like we had no clue. We had no clue what we were doing when it came. I would like to think that we were giving good consulting, but there was no methodology around it, right? Um, oh, the best ideas for getting out of the idea stage. Yo, what's up, Deborah? Coming in from LinkedIn. What's up? Let's go. So the best practices for getting out of the idea stage. So literally it's this here. So like when it comes to the idea stage, it's getting your ideas down on paper and then picking the one that you feel is like, hey, this is the minimum viable thing I need to do to get started. Right. And this is the part where I think 90% of businesses go to die. Like the literally business graveyard is in the ideation stage because no one pulls the trigger, or a majority of people don't pull the trigger. Okay. So you got to test something. You got to try one of these things. Doesn't matter which one it is, but try something. The thing that you think will have the best traction of getting started, and then get your MVP out. Okay. That minimum viable product, get it out. It's going to suck. Okay. All of ours sucked. My first consulting offer sucked. It was bad. It was not good. My first agency offer sucked. Wasn't good. One of our first agency offers was actually drones, buying drones and doing real estate, like taking like real estate videos for like new housing and stuff. Horrible, horrible offer. Bad. Um, is there a way to do the math backwards to price yourself correctly? Best practices there, or does just grow as expenses increase? Good question. So yes, there is a model for this, Corey, of like, hey, is there a way to do the math backwards? Yes, there is. I have a calculator. It's actually a pricing calculator, agency pricing calculator of that takes everything into account. So really it does come down to expenses. So like that is really what it comes down to, of like increasing your price point. And then we always add margin to whatever the expenses are. So normally we mark up 40% of whatever the expenses are to actually run that. Now, it does take us in our ability to track our team's time and actually know how much time is going into a project. And not saying that we're not going to charge like an hourly rate, but we have to boil it down to an hourly rate to give ourselves a standard price point. Because if we don't have an idea of what the hourly rate is, so say, for our team, like fully loaded, it's like $100, right, per hour. Okay, we have to know what that number is in order to get to a point of like, hey, this is what we should charge. Because really, the way people are pricing right now is like, oh, let me look at a competitor's website and just see what they charge. Or, hey, let me go through a discovery process and actually get a proposal from them and see what they charge. Right? Everyone does it. But it's not the right pricing model because the way your agency is run is not how everyone else's agency is run. So you have to be able to, one, understand your operating expenses. Okay. And then really it's salary load. Salary load is really what it should be based off of. And knowing what margin you need to make in order to pay for the rest of your operating expenses outside of salaries, right? So that's how we do it. That's how we kind of reverse engineer it. I've got a calculator. If you guys want a calculator because you came to the live stream, if you DM me calculator, I will send it to you for free. Okay. So, but you got to DM me. Otherwise, I'm not going to send it to you. Okay. Gotta talk to me. A lot of questions today. I love it. Corey, hopefully that was helpful. I think where did Brian? You had a question. Here we go. What lead gen channel was most impactful for you to cross 50K monthly recurring revenue? Um, Good question. Good freaking question. Twitter. Twitter organic for sure. Was the one that we leaned in hard on. Especially like two-step resources. If you guys don't remember, I did this lead magnet. Did I do the lead magnet training here? Maybe I didn't. I thought I did the lead magnet training here. Okay, maybe I'll bring that next week. I thought I did that here. Apparently I didn't. Okay, I'll do the lead magnet training maybe. Oh no, it's right here. Okay. Yeah, so check out this lead magnet training, which Brian, we did this inside of our the Friday workshop as well. But you should definitely check this one out. This one was very effective for us. I think building assets, like when we started building our own assets as far as like marketing materials go, that's when we started to get more and more traction and making more noise and getting more book calls was when we started doing this stuff. So this was probably the thing that was the most effective for us is one market leader positioning was massive when we started doing this, and then we started running paid ads behind it as well, which is added to the fire. But I would say Twitter organic was the lead channel that kind of cascaded us forward. And here's the thing: is like we don't have really big followings on there either. I think I've got like 2,500 followers, but they're very niche followers. And so like we do a bunch of these like two steps, and so for like 2,500 followers, getting 23,000 views and 220 likes, like that's really solid on a two step like this. So this is what really cascaded into our growth was hitting organic content hard. And here's the thing: is like we're pretty decent at that, but I will say, I mean, we have a pretty omni-channel approach to how we do our own marketing. So we're doing LinkedIn outbound, we're doing paid ads, we're doing organic content. I mean, there's such a wide range of different places that we get leads from, and it's not like we get the most obnoxious leads ever. Of like, hey, we're getting a ton every single day. We get a decent amount every day, but at the end of the day, like where things start to pick up and where the flywheel really starts to get going is when you have those multiple lead gen channels and you get 1 to 2 really good opportunities a month from each of those lead channels. And that's what we have currently is a flywheel that's really starting to pick up because we get multiple opportunities from each lead channel, right? And so when you're not just relying on referrals, and this goes back to the mental model around lead generation, right? Of like these ebbs and flows. Well, it's because we don't have enough leads coming in order to outpace our churn. So hopefully that makes sense and answers the question. Felix said, lead gen killing us. We need more of that. Get freaking on it, bro. What are we doing? Okay, you guys got plenty of lead gen stuff here. We got lead magnets training. You should go check that out. You got what's over here? LinkedIn lead generation. This one crushes for us. Get 3 to 4 really good opportunities a month from LinkedIn. Okay. So check those out. If you guys aren't sure, ask questions. Okay. If you're not sure on how to get it working, ask questions. Okay. You guys have these resources here, utilize them. Okay. So but I would say, Felix, like if you guys are really struggling on the lead gen side, do one thing really well. So get something like an outbound strategy going. Make it work. Because here's the thing: is they all work. You just have to make it work. You just have to spend enough time and make it work. Okay. But get one spun up and then add another one. Get that one spun up, get it working, and then add another one. There's no point in doing like 5 different things mediocre. which goes back to our mental model of doing 5 things just very mediocre, not getting a lot of distance on it. Do one thing extremely well, take it really far. That is the same application applies to lead generation. If you're doing outbound half-assed, you're gonna get half-assed results. Doing paid ads half-assed, organic content half-assed, you're gonna get half-assed results. Go deep, make it great. What other questions do we have? Deborah coming in from LinkedIn. Let me know if you have any questions. You said love the models and lessons. Thank you. You're welcome. Anytime. Well, not anytime. Just Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. Whole ass one thing. Always. Always be a whole asser, you know? Sweet. What other questions do we have? You guys are letting them flow in there for a second. What else? What else? What else? Are those mental models helpful? I don't even know if those are considered. They're more visual models than they are mental models. Oh, my camera's going out of focus. Come back. Come back to me. Is that better? There we go. All right, back on my face. All right, I'm giving it 30 more seconds for questions, and then I'm gonna go get some food with the team. Questions, comments, concerns, epiphanies. What else you guys got? Was that? Did you guys vibe with that one today? I don't know why. I felt like doing something a little different today. I didn't feel like doing the original or the same old training. Ahmed. Ooh. When do you hire a closer? Gonna give you the classic answer here. It depends. Depends on a couple different things. One, I would say how good of a closer that you are. Okay, if you're not a very good closer, you should probably get a closer pretty quick. Okay, or if you hate sales, you should probably get a closer pretty quick. So, first thing, okay, is going to be that. Now, second thing is going to be lead flow. My friend Corey Jackson, who's chilling in the other room and is watching this right now, says, especially in the high ticket space, if you want someone that is a very good closer, you need to be able to provide them an opportunity that will give them $10,000 per month. Okay. So 10K per month is what you need or need to be able to generate for that closer to come on board and be one, very incentivized, but also very motivated to sell for you. Okay. Now there's, I think, loopholes around this of like you could get someone part-time, right? I'm just not a huge fan of part-time in that position. Like I want someone that's going to be like a savage and go to battle, right? Every single day. So depending on two things. One, how good are you as a closer? And can you hold the sales lane as long as possible? And we tend to find that founders are the best salespeople, just because one, they're the most passionate about their service. They understand it better than anyone else in the business, and they're very convicted about their ability to deliver the results, right? And then second thing is going to be, can you provide them a $10,000 per month opportunity? In my personal opinion, if I can't do that, they're not going to be very incentivized to come and close for me. So those are my two things. Corey, let me know if you have any additional. You can even come in here and chat with them if you want, or you can just drop it in chat. Either one's fine. Seeing more content on YouTube about appointment setters and closers. Yeah, appointment setters are great. Like we have an appointment setter. One of our two Tylers is one of our appointment setters. So yeah, I mean, appointment setters are great. Help fish out deals and be able to pre-qualify people before you get on. So I would bring on an appointment setter before I'd bring on a closer, Ahmed, if you're closing and you're pretty decent at it. So um Felix, was this a question? I don't know if this is a question or not. Happy to answer anything that you have there though. But I said fired up to get interlace marketing resources built out. I'm telling you, man, these assets are invaluable to the business. Like you want to get leads through the door, give away stuff for free, or even put some paid ads behind it to push it. That's what we do, and we get an absurd amount of leads every single week. Let's see. Let's see how many we got today. How do we do on opt-ins today, boys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so we got 5 opt-ins today. The day before we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Day before that we got 3. Day before that we got 4. Right. So yeah, get opt-ins. Start conversations. Okay. That's really what it comes down to. Felix said commission only are savages. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be commission only. It's the only way that you're going to get someone that are like really actual savages is if it's commission only because they want to be incentivized. Because if they can just sell the freaking roof off the place, they will. Reed, why did you invest in Cody's program? I'm asking the deep questions out here. Yeah, it's the classic. What got you here won't get you there. So for me, it was one. Cody knows the digital space, but he doesn't like know the digital space, if that makes sense. So I wanted a different outlook on our business than someone that's in the digital marketing space and community, like really in depth, right? So I wanted someone that had an outside perspective that's going to give me a different perspective on what we're doing and can give us more executive coaching than something more strategic or something more niched than like sales coaching or lead gen coaching. Like we have something good that's rolling. We just need to up level ourselves as individuals now. So I don't know if that answers your question exactly, but I like the fact that he's not some like technically yes he's a digital entrepreneur because like his coaching program is digital, but he doesn't come from the same experience. And for me, it's like I feel like I need something outside of the classic Russell Brunson, Alex Hormozy, type digital marketing vibe. So change of pace. That's pretty much it. And if you're not growing, you're dying. Corey said, make sure you have systems built. Do not rely on a closer to build your systems either. Exactly. And here's the thing: is like Corey, who's been helping us with a ton of this stuff. You know, it's just we're not even like personally, we're not even ready for a closer for our business. One, because we can't provide a $10,000 per month opportunity to a closer yet, in full transparency. Okay, so we can't, and we don't have the systems fully built out yet in order to do this, right? So like things have to be clicking and ticking really well before we bring on a closer that's going to be that good, right? Because if you're hiring someone that has a $10,000 uh not salary but like commission structure, like things have to be really dialed in on lead gen, but also your internal systems, like making sure that you guys can field those leads appropriately. Like that's a lot of leads coming in. It's a lot of conversations, and being able to track all of that appropriately is not easy. Running a very high level sales department is like running like a second business entirely. It's very difficult to do. Of course, said ensure show rate of 60% as well. Yep. Yep. Ahmed said thank you. You're welcome. You're freaking welcome, bro. Welcome to the stream. Come back. We do this every Wednesday. Corey's just hitting us with all the alsos. Also, make sure your fulfillment won't break when sales come in. Yeah, so there's a lot of caveats. So Ahmed, normally like probably the last position that you'll bring on is going to be a closer, in my opinion. I don't think I'd ever bring on a closer until we're ready. And we've had conversations, and I've even asked this question to people that have closers, and they're like, "You're not ready. You're not ready." I'm like, all right, fair. So, at 100K per month, north of 100K per month, if we're not ready, it's like, damn, we got some work to do. What other questions do we have? We got some good ones rolling today. I'm down to answer them for a few more minutes. If you guys got more. Ahmed, I see the message coming in on Instagram. I'll send it to you tomorrow morning. Okay, brother? All right, going once, going twice, 3 times for questions. All right, crew. Appreciate you coming by today. Nice little crew in here today. We love to see it. You guys, we do this every Wednesday. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click subscribe, like the video as well. It helps us reach a few more people. It does help. Okay. And then you get notifications when we go live, which would be super dope. But I appreciate you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Tyler, any last words?
Thank you guys for the questions. We got a lot of content to edit.
Let's go, dude. Look at that mustache coming in strong. All right, team. We'll